May 17, 1914. O Lord, deliver me from the mental influences which weigh upon me, so that, completely free, I may soar towards Thee. O Thou, universal being, supreme unity in perceptible form, through an irresistible aspiration, I nestled within Thy heart. Then I was Thy heart itself, and I knew then that Thy heart is no other than the child who plays and creates the worlds. Thou didst tell me, one day Thou wilt be my head, but for the moment turn Thy gaze towards the earth, and on the earth now I am the joyful child who plays. These were the 2 sentences I wrote yesterday by a kind of absolute necessity. The first, as though the power of the prayer would not be complete unless it were traced on paper. The second, as though the stability of the experience could not be had unless I unburdened my mind of it by noting it down in writing. May 18, 1914. Thou art the sole reality, O Lord. Thou art omnipotence and eternity. And he who is united with Thee in the depths of his being becomes Thy reality in its eternal and immutable omnipotence. But for others, the command is, even while remaining in contact with Thee, to turn their eyes and activity towards the earth. Such is the mission Thou hast given them. Here begins the difficulty, for everything depends upon the perfection of the various states of their being, and even after attaining the sublime identification, they must still work at perfecting the instrument which will manifest Thy divine will. This is where the task becomes arduous. Everything seems to me mediocre, insufficient, neutral, almost inert in the present instrument which Thou makest me call myself. And the more I am united with Thee, the more do I realize the mediocrity of its faculties and its manifestation. Everything in it seems to me an incorrigible approximation. And if that cannot disturb me in any way, it is because the true self is lying at Thy feet, or nestling in Thy heart, or conscious with Thy eternal and immutable consciousness, and looks at the whole manifestation with a smile of patient and understanding benevolence. May 19, 1914. This mental being, which throughout my individual existence had the power to set all my faculties working, deep devotion for Thee, infinite compassion for men, ardent aspiration for knowledge, effort for self-perfection, seems to have fallen into a deep sleep and no longer sets anything at all in movement. All the individual faculties slumber, and the consciousness is not yet fully awake in the transcendent states. That is, its wakefulness in them is intermittent, and in between there is sleep. Something in this being aspires for solitude and absolute silence for a little while, so as to come out of this unsatisfactory transition, and something else knows that it is thy will that this instrument be consecrated to the service of all, even if this must apparently be harmful to its self-perfecting. Something in this being tells thee, O Lord, I know nothing. I am nothing. I can do nothing. I am in the darkness of inconscience. And something else knows that it is thyself, and thus the supreme perfection. What is going to come out of that? How will such a state come to an end? Whether it is inertia or true patience, I do not know. But without haste or desire, I lie at thy feet and wait. May 20, 1914. From the height of that summit, which is the identification with thy divine infinite love, thou didst turn my eyes to this complex body which has to serve thee as thy instrument. And thou didst tell me, it is myself, dost thou not see my light shining in it? And indeed I saw thy divine love clothed in intelligence, then in strength, constituting this body in its smallest cells, and shining so brightly in it that it was nothing but a combination of millions of radiant sparks, all manifesting that they were thyself. And now all darkness has disappeared, and thou alone livest in different worlds, in different forms, but with an identical life, immutable and eternal. This divine world of thy immutable domain of pure love and invisible unity must be brought into close communion with the divine world of all the other domains, right down to the most material, in which thou art the center and very constitution of each atom. To establish a bond of perfect consciousness between all these successive divine worlds is the only way to live constantly, invariably in thee, accomplishing integrally the mission thou hast entrusted to the entire being in all its states of consciousness and all its modes of activity. O my sweet Master, thou hast caused a new veil to be rent, another veil of my ignorance, and without leaving my blissful place in thy eternal heart, I am at the same time in the imperceptible but infinite heart of each of the atoms constituting my body. Strengthen this complete and perfect consciousness. Make me enter into all the details of its perfection, and grant that without leaving Thee for a single moment, I may constantly move up and down this infinite ladder according to the necessity of the work Thou hast prescribed for me. I am Thine. I am in Thee, Thyself, in the plenitude of eternal bliss. May 21, 1914. Translation by Sri Aurobindo. Outside all manifestation, in the immutable silence of eternity, I am in Thee, O Lord, an unmoving beatitude, in that which, out of Thy puissance and marvelous light, forms the center and reality of the atoms of matter, I find Thee. Thus, without going out of Thy presence, I can disappear in Thy supreme consciousness, or see Thee in the radiant particles of my being. And for the moment, that is the plenitude of Thy life and Thy illumination. I see Thee. I am Thyself. And between these two poles, my intense love aspires towards Thee.